barbecue and chicken. And Sharon says, "Don't you have a meeting?" I'm like, yes, I do. I knew that. But I see I'm not alone in being missing.
You want to lead us in the pledge?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
I'm good. Taneytown Community Comprehensive Plan Workshop of the Taneytown Planning Commission. Would you please come to order? Would everyone stand for the pledge of the flag, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to thank, I was counting on the room to be full, but maybe this is just a start. And this is to start something that we've been working on for a while. And I'm kind of excited about getting it kicked off and getting it started.
Very.
So let the records reflect the members that are here. Mr. Myers is by video. And guess that's it.
Danny's
Yeah.
next
Dan,
to you.
we're good. We're good. All right. To start this off, maybe, I know we do not know the company, the people who's going to help to represent us here and do this, but maybe start off, we can introduce ourselves up here so they know who they're dealing with. My name is Jim Parker. I've been on the commission here for 20 plus years. I lived in Taneytown all my life. Looking forward to moving forward with this, and maybe for the next 12 to 15 months, we can have a good meeting and fill the room. Mr. Garner,
Barry Garner,
how long you been on the commission?
about 6 months,
Okay, and you've been a resident of Taneytown all your life?
71 years.
Okay. Bill?
Bill Eisenberg, been on the commission, I think going on 2 years, I think, time flies.
About 2-3 years.
Yep, and then been in Taneytown residence, going on about 40 years, so.
Okay. Chris?
Chris Tillman. I'm the city council liaison and ex officio to the planning commission. And I've been in Taneytown, been on the council and on the planning commission for about 15 months. And I've lived in Taneytown for about 7 years.
Mr. Myers?
Hello, how's the volume there, Jim? Okay?
Perfect.
All right. Hey, Barry, you need to lean closer to the microphone when you talk so I can hear you, buddy.
Thank you,
My
sir.
name's Dan Myers. I've lived in Taneytown all my life except for a couple years when I was going to college, and I guess it's been about 60 years. I've been on the board here or the commission for about 2 years. I'm looking forward to this opportunity here.
Thank you. Either Jim or Darrell, would you like to introduce the company and? Sure.
Okay, so let's introduce ourselves as well. I'm Darrell Hale, I'm Director of Planning and Zoning. I've been in this town since 1975. Minus my time in the Marine Corps. It's a great little place. It took leaving it and traveling for 4 years to know that it was a pretty cool place. I felt a lot different about coming back to it than I did when I left. In any case, been here. My 2 children have gone through the school systems here and grew up in town as well. Look forward to getting this process rolling. Craig and Emily, thank you for making yourselves available, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Okay, all righty, and for the record, Jim Wieprecht, I'm the city manager here in town. I've worked in a number of different roles with the city over the years. I guess I've been involved with the city government for, I don't know, 26, 27 years, something like that, in different capacities. And I've lived here most of my adult life, about 34, 35 years, I guess. And I think that covers all the folks from the city side. So if it's all right, I'll kind of punt things over to Craig and Emily, if you guys can kind of give us your rundown. And I know we can maybe jump into the agenda that you sent Daryl at this point.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'll just do a quick introduction and give Emily a chance. But I'm Craig Kaloji with Aero Consulting. We're very excited to be part of this process and look forward to working with you. It's nice to see that it's a group with a lot of experience and a lot of community background, which is going to be great. That's very helpful. So I'm a senior planner with Aero, and that's probably because I'm old, I guess. Maybe I don't know why they call me senior, but I've been doing this for I guess about 35 years. I'm also on my own township planning commission, back where I live. So I do this for a living as well as for a hobby. So and I've been doing that for about 25 years. So I've been on both sides of the table. So I know. I appreciate where you guys are coming from, and thank you for your time that you volunteer. I'll turn it over to Emily to introduce herself before we get into the agenda.
Hi, I'm Emily Yatrin. I'm located at our Doylestown, Pennsylvania office, so I'm a little bit a ways from you in Taneytown. I originally am a graphic designer, have about 10 years of experience doing that, and then 6 years ago moved to Doylestown to become a landscape architect. I've been working with Castle Valley for about 3 years and have done a variety of things and really have been excited to do a lot more in planning in the last couple of years with Craig. So it's great to be here.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, I
And just to
realized
clarify
with Jay
too, so
being,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just realized with Jay being remote, I skipped over him, and so
Yeah,
give
Jay,
him
you
a
still there?
chance.
A little J in the corner there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the corner. Hey, to interrupt the flow here, but I'm Jay Gullo. I'm the city attorney. I have my own practice representing municipalities throughout the state. I've been the city attorney for Taneytown for 23 years. So I've been around to see that. So looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to jump into, we just put together a short presentation for tonight. And the purpose for tonight is really just to get to know you, let you get to know us a little bit, allow us just to kind of talk about our approach to the project. And we just have a little exercise to get to know you guys a little better and to get a little feedback at the end. So if I'm going to share my screen, hopefully this will work. And can everybody see this?
Not yet.
Nope, not yet.
No.
Worked the last time.
Yeah, it just worked 5 minutes ago.
Technology is great until it isn't.
Let's see. Let's try it again. Hold on.
All right, Emily, you need to learn to sing and dance.
I think I got it.
There we go.
There we go.
There we
There we
Okay.
go.
All right. So just to get into the agenda. So as I mentioned, introductions, that was great. We went through that already. Background, I just want to talk about a little bit what a comprehensive plan is. I think you guys are all very familiar with that, but just want to talk about how we view a comprehensive plan, what our approach to the plan will be in terms of content and the schedule that we hope to follow to get to the end. And then I mentioned the discussion to get a little more input from the group in terms of what the group feels and the needs, what we need to be focusing on, just some background as far as that goes, and then going into the next steps. So that's what we, that's kind of just a brief background of what we want to touch on tonight. So we already went through, you met Emily and I, a couple other the team members that will be working on this that aren't here this evening. Liam Allenstein-Leon will be taking on most of the GIS duties of the project. So he's also a landscape architect and planner, as well as a GIS specialist. So he'll be helping out with those components of the project. And then Bethany Stoll, who is an engineer with the firm, she'll be helping out with some of the more technical pieces of the work. I'll mention that Bethany is actually a resident of Taneytown as well. So I don't know if you know Bethany, but she's a resident. And please, as we're going through this, if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump in at any point. In terms of what is a comprehensive plan, the way that we want to approach this, it's really going to be a community-driven document and process. We really want to emphasize the community involvement piece of this, trying to get as much public input as possible. Because as you know, the last thing you want to have happen, I mean, it will happen, but when you're getting ready to adopt the plan, people show up and say, hey, I didn't know anything about this. Why didn't you let me know what's going on? I don't like what's in here. But we want to provide the most opportunity to allow people to participate. So at least we can tell them, hey, we gave you a chance. So that's, it's a big emphasis of what we want to do. Obviously, the plan is, number one, where are we now, right? Looking at the trends and the conditions that have shaped the community and help us determine where we want to go. And what are those what is the community vision? What are those goals that are going to help us kind of focus where the town does want to go? And then the third piece of that is, how do we get there? And it's what are the policies that we need to formulate and the implementation strategies to help us get where we want to go. So as you know, the comprehensive plan is that highest level of the community's future, right? Articulating what it is. It's that 30,000-foot view, and it provides that shape that everything will kind of fit into. It's that blueprint for the community's future. And we really want this document to be something that is used and not written and then set to the side. That's our goal in preparing this plan, is that it really can be something that the community leaders do use, that the staff can use, and that will be integral to the decision making in the community. Obviously, it's very the plan can be an important tool for capital improvements. How are we going to fund things? What are our priorities for funding? It'll put the city in a better position when applying for grants, because you have a plan that you've thought about this and now we're trying to implement it. And lastly, it's that messaging tool. It's if somebody were to come into town and say, hey, tell me a little bit about Taneytown, you would be able to give them this document, and it would clearly articulate what the vision for the town is. So why are we updating the plan, right? Number one, it's required, right? The Maryland Land Use article requires that the plans be evaluated on a 10-year cycle. So we're a little bit behind that, right? Our plan currently is a 2010 plan, but now's the right time to look at that. It obviously gives us a chance to revisit the current comp plan. I'd ask you all when you last opened up the current comp plan, but I'm not sure if you want to tell me. So, but hopefully we'll create a document that is a little more of a resource for you and a little more usable. And lastly, it really does provide that opportunity to get the community-wide dialogue open, right? It's to talk about the future of the town and what, the differing viewpoints. I'm sure that we're going to have some conflicting viewpoints to deal with and to kind of navigate through. So that's part of the process. With regard to the project schedule, we've kind of broken it down into 4 pieces essentially. But what lives throughout is that in community engagement, public participation piece. We want at every opportunity along the way, there's going to be that ability to get the public involved, and hopefully, as you had mentioned, getting some people in the room there. If they don't come to you, we want to go to them, and that's one thing we included in the scope. Was an opportunity to go out, do some pop-up meetings at some community events. And we'll want to know, that's one thing we're going to want to try and find out tonight is what are some community events that would be useful to go out and take the plan to the public, essentially. So that's one thing we'll want to know. But just going through the different pieces of the plan, the first phase would be the research and the analysis component. A part of that is the surveys, the public survey and the key person interviews. The survey, we'll do an online survey. One thing that's very encouraging for Emily and I to see is the amount of technical capabilities that the city has. It's really incredible. It's encouraging to see, and it's great. And we're going to be able to take advantage of that along the way. So that background, that phase 1, we're looking at probably take the first 3 months for us to go back, look at the current plan, update some of the background sections in there, and get the survey component rolling. Once we have that background information together, we can go into the goals and objectives and the plan element portions of the plan. So that's going to be a 6 to 8 month process there to put those pieces together until we're at a point where we have a draft of the plan prepared for public review and public comment. So that's we anticipate, basically, essentially, a year from now that we'll be into that phase, and then going into the phase 4, which is the adoption, and going through the legal process to adopt the plan. And I mentioned that we want to create a document that's kind of that's a living document and that's working with the various life cycle of projects within the town, within the city. So it's number 1, setting those policy priorities, right? And that's the comprehensive plan will do that, or other plans, maybe a park and rec plan or whatever, some historic resource plan, Main Street plans, things of that nature. The next step is then kind of making a more finite document, the strategic plan, taking those elements of the comp plan and refining them into a more implementable document. Then moving into funding and helping establish priorities, capital improvements programming. Then going into the actual implementation of those priorities, the projects, what those initiatives are. And then assessing the progress. Did they meet what you anticipated, or have priorities changed? And then just starting the process all over again. So again, it's just creating that document that can live and breathe with the ever-changing priorities and goals of the city. I'm just going to stop sharing here for a minute. Oh. Did I stop sharing?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. There we go. Okay. Any questions, input, at this point in terms of process? Go ahead, Dan.
Well, maybe not process. I guess I was interested a little bit more of the history of or some experience that you have with our Arrow there. So I mean, is this writing comprehensive plans? I mean, I assume this is not the first one you did. So I guess I'm kind of interested in, what kind of experience you have. And I'll tell you, I guess one of my concerns was that getting a commercial company to help us here is that I don't really want to see a cookie cutter kind of plan put together. I'd like to make sure that it is unique and pertinent and usable for specifically for Taneytown.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because well, to answer your first question, yeah, we've done a number of many plans over the years. So my first job out of school was working for a county planning commission, and I was responsible for doing community planning assistance and writing plans, and whether it was for individual municipalities or regional plans, multi-municipal plans. And then when I left the county and started with a private firm, that those priorities or those principles carried forward. And most of my work, most of our work to this point is really municipally focused. So we're very much tied into the ever-changing needs of municipalities, but every place is very different. Like, for example, Taneytown, I mean, you have a lot of unique things. I mean, just the historic aspects of the town create maybe a different approach to things with regards to priorities. But that's what we want to find out tonight, and that's why we want to get the commission's input on what you feel are some priorities, so it is tailored to what your needs are, right? Because everybody is different. It's is it economic development? Is it growth management? So it's not a one size fits all by any means. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Please continue.
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump into now. I'm going to ask for some of your input tonight to kind of help us focus in on what the group feels are some of the needs. Let's see. Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. So we went, actually, the beginning of the meeting really helped out a lot. We got everybody's name, the connection to the town, how long have you lived here? We got that. So I guess one thing I'm always interested in is why are you on the planning commission? What drew you to volunteer in this fashion for the city? So if anybody just wants to chime in, and I just want to take some notes on that.
I'm happy to start there if you want.
Okay. Yep.
Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, sure. Well, I did look at your questions here, so I'll just kind of go down through the list here a little bit.
Yeah,
So
perfect. Good.
The first one was about the connection to Taneytown, and so I've mentioned, been a lifetime resident here. My family has also been here for many years. My granddad was actually on the town council and helped get like the first sewer here, get the rubber factory, a factory that's no longer here. So he helped do those kind of things, and so I was kind of interested. And so when COVID came around, I got to start working from home. I actually found I had a couple hours extra through the day, and so I applied, and Mr. Parker helped me. Been pretty interested in this. It's been quite a learning experience, and I'm enjoying it so far. So as far as why am I here, basically I plan on staying in Taneytown. I don't really plan on moving out. I think there were a few of the developments that happened around town. I wasn't really 100% in favor of how they turned out, but I don't really understand all the background or the decisions that had to be made to make them happen. You know, I'm sure there were reasons for everything to happen, but not being able to understand it and just sitting on the outside, you know, kind of makes you curious and see if you know, so I'm here to see if I can do better. Or maybe I end up doing the same thing. I don't know. But one of the main things that I'm excited about this effort is basically trying to understand what what the people of Taneytown really want. Because I hear a lot of comments that are made, and they sound very different from the gang that I hang out with. And so most of the gang that I hang out with has been around Taneytown forever. And so I don't really know where they're coming from, or, you know, where their opinions are coming from. So I'm really kind of curious to find out what other people want to see in Taneytown. So I found out that, you know, we call ourselves a small town community. Well, that means a whole lot of different things to different people. So I guess that's kind of why I'm here, is trying to understand that a little bit better. And I guess I don't know which side of the fence I'm going to be on yet. I'll have to wait till I get some more facts here. And as far as what excites me the most about the project, I guess, again, it's just really the opportunity to participate in this planning process. I think whatever comes out of this project is going to go a long way to steering how Taneytown is going to be in the future. And like I said, I don't plan on leaving. My kids live in the area. I don't think they're leaving anywhere anytime soon. So I guess I'm just going to be here. So that's what I got. Yeah.
Great. No, that's great, Dan. Yep. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in?
Bill, Barry, Chris?
I can, I'll jump in next. As I said, I'm a city councilman. I've been here in Taneytown for 7 years. We came here to open a business. I own a bed and breakfast right around the corner here. And we came to Taneytown because we saw opportunity here, opportunity for growth. We saw a town that was ready to move in on the upswing, and we wanted to be part of something like that. We wanted to be part of something exciting and growth and revitalization. You know, there are a lot of issues that the town faces. There are issues that the town probably never expected to face, that are kind of rolling our way, and we need to try to be ahead of it, which is part of the reason for the comprehensive plan. You know, there's Mr. Myers and I will often have discussions regarding how many houses should be built and where they should, what they should look like, and how close together they should be. And you know, there's a lot of discussion about that, and there are a lot of people in this town who are, you know, of the belief that there are enough houses here and we don't need any more. You know, I'm personally not in that camp. You know, I believe that growth is coming, and the only way to manage it is to be on top of it with a plan. You know, because what will continue to happen to us if we wanted to put the brakes on any new development, is what's already happened to us, which is that development occurs in places outside of Taneytown, and the traffic to get to those developments comes through Taneytown, and so we bear the brunt of it without getting any of the benefit. And you know, people have to realize that it's going to happen, you know, whether we want it to or not. They're building 100 new houses right now out at the links at Gettysburg. They've built a bunch of new houses in Littlestown. I think there's some more things planned out towards Fairfield. So it's, you know, that growth is coming, whether we want to get in on it and be part of it and benefit from it, or whether we just want to let that happen to us where it happens somewhere else and we end up, you know, sitting in traffic for 10 minutes trying to get from one end of town to the other. So, you know, there are benefits to the growth, increasing the tax base, and the things that we can do with that, that help fuel the revitalization and help create the things that they want. Everybody talks about wanting the small town atmosphere, but it's kind of hard to have that as trucks are rumbling by at 35 miles an hour. But because of some decisions that have been made in the past, we aren't going to get a bypass out of the state anytime in the near future. So if we really want that to be something that happens, we're going to have to try to make that happen through a comprehensive plan in the development process. I think that that's a doable thing, but we've got to commit ourselves to it if we're going to do that. If we don't, we're just going to get left behind.
Thank you, Chris. Bill,
Great,
or
thank
anyone
you.
else?
Yeah, as I said, I've been here most of my adult life. And since the beginning, what I remember, it was about half the population, about 3,600 when I moved here. And as we both, Chris and Dan, and I think there was a vision. I believe the vision wasn't, I don't know, going down the right road as far as I'm concerned. There was some mistakes. Nobody's perfect. I'm not going to say I am, but we need to, I think there's a great opportunity with you steering us in the right direction. We've never had this opportunity to have somebody to guide us because there's so much going on and so the importance. And I think what we've seen and what we can do is rely on community involvement. That's so important. I talk to a lot of people through town, been around this town, like I said, for a lot of years. The more people, more feedback we get, we're going to steer it in the right direction, and that's what should be done in Taneytown, so that's why I'm here. I saw an opportunity for me to be on this board. I'm hoping I can stay on it for a while, but I think there's going to be importance to make sure the town is involved, the people in this town are involved to guide, have the input to us, to you. So that's why I'm here, so.
Well put, Bill. Bill, you have anything?
I know right now people are moving to Taneytown because we're the cheapest place in Carroll County to live. And I myself do not like that. Taneytown started out single-family homes, nice-sized lots, and I like to see it continue that way. I'm against high density. And I like Taneytown to be known as more of an expensive place to live, but a damn nice place.
Thank you. I pretty much piggyback what everyone else has said. I can remember back when we were 3,000 people. Now the same group of people that are still here, we're looking for a place to retire and maybe move to a place where we don't have to mow a yard. So I'm looking for, I support the senior developments, the 55-year-old developments. I'm looking forward for those, for a place for be able to move into maybe someday, even though I keep saying I built the house, I'm going to die there. But I pretty much piggyback all the other comments that was said. I just remember being a kid in town, everybody knew everyone. I mean, if you did something, you knew it, your parents knew it before you got home. As simple as that. Remember downtown, the local stuff downtown, the hardware stores, the restaurants uptown, the restaurants at the Y on Tavanian Road. I mean, we just need to pull our group together. And group, I mean, all our citizens try to be the same focus. And that's kind of what I'm supporting. So with that, again, welcome to have you aboard.
Okay, is that everyone?
That should pretty much,
Okay, great. No, that's really good input. And yes, I'll just kind of reinforce it's your plan, right? And it's our job to kind of take what kind of create a vision from what you're telling us and what the community's telling us, and try and make something that's workable. And yeah, I mean, these are some great input. That idea of community connections and creating that environment where people are actually out and doing things together of all different backgrounds and ages, and that's things that I know that we've lost over time, and trying to create that, trying to recreate that, or at least opportunities for that is important. So a couple things that came out through there. We'll build on that. It seems like I heard traffic as being a concern, and it sounds like maybe we have some differing opinions on development and growth pressures. So that's good. That's good to talk through those things, because those are things that come up often. So. But I like the damn nice place to live too. I think that's good. It might be the tagline for this. So, so that's great. But that was, again, very helpful and exactly what we were looking for. And I think we've actually kind of. I mean, my next slide was this. Let's talk about some of these things though. We talked about, the importance of the public involvement. So I'd like to know what we can do, or what you think we can do to maximize that. Are there things, what we provided some opportunities in the scope to do some, what we call pop-up meetings. So that's why I mentioned, taking the plan to the public rather than waiting for the public to come to us. So if you know of any community events or opportunities to go out and publicize the plan, we'll be looking for your help in kind of identifying what those are. I don't know if you have any ideas currently. I know we just missed one of your bigger events, right? Was it a fireman's event?
The carnival, yes.
Carnival, yeah.
Carnival, yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything similar to that's coming up that we might be able to kind of hop on?
So Craig and Emily, on our city website, you have the Parks and Rec. There's a schedule of all the events. I sent you all the emails for all the directors.
Yes.
Lorena, if you ask her for the latest and greatest list, it's chock full.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah. And so what I envision there is, like I said, maybe doing just setting up a pop-up tent at some of those events, trying to solicit some input, let everybody know what's going on, hand out postcards with regards to the link for the survey, just to keep people involved, provide the maximum opportunities to do that. I think you all touched on it a little bit, but can you reiterate what we all think are maybe some of the biggest challenges facing Taneytown right now? I think I heard traffic was one.
Traffic is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Traffic is
traffic's a priority.
a big challenge.
Okay.
Every day, the backup extends from the square in the afternoon, every bit of a half mile or more. Some days it'll go all the way back to the light at Baumgartner, which is almost three quarters of a mile.
Oh, yeah.
And it can take 10 minutes to get through town. The other week there was an accident headed out on Baltimore Street, on West Baltimore Street, going west out towards Emmitsburg. Right at Harney Road, and the effect on traffic of that was to back everything up in town, and I mean, it was gridlocked for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, to the point where even the ambulance trying to get up to the scene couldn't make it through. There were tractor trailers on Church Street, which is an alley about 15 feet wide. It was just crazy. So because we don't, and if you look at a map, there's just no way around. There is nothing out there. So, the bypass is to me, it's a hugely important thing from a quality of life standpoint, not just a not just a commercial standpoint for businesses in the town that would like to not have trucks rumble by at, all hours. It's hard to get pedestrians to want to cross the street downtown. It's just not, it's not conducive to the kind of environment that everybody says that they want to create. I think the other big challenge is to get people involved. We seem to have, a lot of trouble sometimes getting people involved. But, Harry's here and Paul's here, and they're people that are here for a lot of the meetings. But there's nobody else here. So how do we generate that excitement and get people to come? So I'll shut up and let Dan talk, because I know Dan wants to say some things.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, so actually, I wrote down 3 things that were challenges, and I thought they were different than what you guys were saying, but then Chris hit the participation thing there at the end there, which was one of mine. But we do have minimal participation from the town. Every now and then, the chambers gets full, but it's I do think it's one of our major challenges. But then as other communities, I'm sure, are the same way. The social media is also, it could be a benefit, but it's also a problem, because people start talking on there and complaining, and they don't necessarily have the right information. And that is a major problem when, in my mind. And so the other 2 items I had were that my number one challenge is that I don't really think that Taneytown has anything to offer so that people say, I want to go to Taneytown and do this, So, we don't have a nice restaurant that people want to necessarily come to. People complain about traffic and parking, but just north of us in Emmitsburg, there's a restaurant called the Yacht House, which everybody knows about, and their parking is no better than ours at all. But that place is packed all the time. So it just feels like we don't really have that kind of draw anywhere.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I think one of our biggest challenges is, I really think that we have limited future opportunities. And what I mean there is that, we talk about, we want to develop the downtown, but the longer we don't do something to develop it, the harder it's going to be to make it anything that we want. So I really think that's, we're limited in time and what we can do down there the longer we go. And likewise, with the developments that we have at the edge of town, I think there are only a few opportunities that we're going to have to steer those developments. And then after that, I've heard a number of people mention, and I haven't verified this, but I've heard people mention that we're going to be landlocked inside of a lot of ag preservation land and stuff that's already happened. So I do feel there is limited opportunities for us. And so that's why I think this comprehensive plan is really important for us. So those are the 3 challenges that I wrote down.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add in addition to that?
No.
I don't believe so.
The concern I have is a lot of articles I've been reading in magazines. Seems like it's a nationwide push to have this high density. And just looking through your survey, you have an awful lot of questions about parks and walkways and bike trails. It looks like you're kind of heading in that direction yourself.
Not necessarily, right? Those are all just kind of community amenities. But I mean, I see what you're saying, but that's not necessarily the intention. That's why we provided that, to get some input on the survey. But we talk about draws to the community. There is especially with COVID, and there's such a push now for outdoor activities, right? And being able, because a lot of people stay at home now. And just being able to have at-home activities and and recreation activities. So that's why those kind of things are in there, and that's what tends to draw people to communities if those opportunities exist.
I think one of the other things that we need to make sure that we talk about is that density, high density does not necessarily mean low price or, lower standard of living kind of place. You look at some of the higher density communities being built now in Frederick, and those are $500,000 homes, and so it's not, and with all the, all the amenities. And that's what those home buyers are looking for is, they don't want the big maintenance, so maybe they don't want the big yard, but they like the large enough interior space and, well appointed and, well built. But they want those parks and hiking trails and biking trails and access to that kind of outdoor activity. And they want it close by. They want it in walking distance. And that's kind of the way the demographic is moving. And that's for the demographic with the money to buy, bigger, expensive houses. And so I think the old paradigm is on its way out. Like I said, I think we have to just make sure that we aren't stuck on a thought that density necessarily means low income or, even though fair housing is a topic and it's going to be a topic here, it's not necessarily all about that.
Well, I think, just piggybacking on that, I think over the past years, we become a stepping stone. And we got the name or the title of a bedroom community. And what happens with all these developments come in, they're priced for the younger generation, and they're here because that's what they can afford, and that's what we offer. So,
Then you need a lot more police and you have all that expense.
so that's why,
With growth anyway, so.
we gotta have growth, we gotta have growth.
Depends
That's
what
why
kind of growth.
I'm looking for more for the seniors, for the people that was here back in my style. A stepping stone for retirement, not necessarily new, because we get the new families coming in, and you have kids. Then the kids need a place to play, so we need the parks. So it's just one stepping stone after another.
Call it a yard.
Right. So that's kind of what the direction I'm going.
So, so I know there's a lot of historic properties in town, and are you seeing a lot of redevelopment or restoration activity going on, or are we? I guess what's the predominantly are they renters or owners occupied? What's the makeup of the core downtown area, I guess?
I think what we need is more owner occupied instead of
Renters,
rentals.
rentals.
I think we have, especially downtown, we have way too many rentals, and that's kind of hard to get businesses to come in unless it's a destination type business. People really don't have a reason to come downtown. So we need that's why we need growth downtown to bring in some destination type businesses. A reason for people to come downtown.
Chris?
Yes.
What is from being a business owner in Taneytown for 7 years, what is the feedback that you get from people that visit and stay at your place,
Well, and I'll tell you, the biggest thing that I hear is, this is such a cute little town, I wish there was more to do.
Right. So how do
I
we-
get that every weekend.
But how do we change that, we've gone down the road with what we have right now. So how do we change it to develop it, to get places for people to go? Instead of staying at your place and going to Gettysburg.
Right. Which, right now, so one of the things that that drives our business is the wedding industry. There are 3 major high-end wedding venues in Taneytown. We make no use of that whatsoever. We don't market to that. We don't try to push economic development in that direction to try to feed the things that people like that would be here to do. You know, there's a 40-room, 5-star boutique hotel in town. Those people come, they get on that campus there, and they stay there.
Right.
Because there isn't anything for them to do here.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a 4-block walk.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's an easy walk from there to here. A lot of my guests walk to Antrim to go to an event, or they walk to the Tannery Barn to go to an event. So they do walk through the town. They walk right past all of these underutilized properties. So, you know, the question is, how do we finally get everybody pulling in one direction to make all of these things happen? And you know, I think there's hopefully one of the things that comes out of this process is a sense of direction for all of that to go. You talk about, you know, I mean, we redeveloped an historic property. We completely renovated it. Across the street from me, they're renovating an historic property there, and they renovated the carriage barn, their carriage house behind it, which is the Rhinelander Carriage House, which is a commercial property in itself. You know, Paul here has rescued the property on the Adam Good Tavern site, and making that a home again and an active business where it hadn't been for you know, well over 10 years. You know, closer to 15. So we have some green shoots, as it were, and things that we're trying to accomplish, but the hard thing has been to try to get everybody rowing in the same direction.
I agree. That's the tough battle that
Yeah. And I'm hoping that that's one of those things that comes out of this, that, you know, and we just like to say, we need to get more people involved in the process. We need more than just our voices here. This needs to be really a community-driven thing.
Yeah. So along those lines, so we'll be looking for what are those assets that you might be able to build on, or what are the unique features of town that make it different than anywhere else, and how can we kind of leverage that into something that's going to make it more attractive or be that draw. So that's something we'll be looking for. So maybe give some thought to that as we go through the process. Maybe we can focus some of the survey questions on that, maybe to get some input from the public in terms of what they appreciate. What do you like best? What do you like best about town? And then maybe that's what we build on. If we have a commonality there, and then we can take that and run with that.
Other question, these surveys, how are we going to get them in the people's hands? What have, from your experience, how does it work? I mean, I know it's tough. We're seeing 2 people here tonight. We're hoping we're going to have more. How do you get these? Because this is very, very important. Other than, I think Dan or someone said about social media. Social media could be a slippery slope of trying to do it that way. You know, community involvement, as I said, and many of them up here has said that. But this survey is so important. How do we get in their hands, other than walking door to door?
Well, that's one option. It certainly is to do that. So, you know, make hard copies available. You know, publicize it on the website. As I said, we'll do these pop-up events, handing out postcards, doing mailings of the postcard with maybe the link, the link to the survey. So it'll be both digital and hard copy. But it's just taking every opportunity, mentioning it at every meeting, right? Every council meeting, every planning commission meeting, just publicizing it, making everybody aware that it's out there. And it's a finite timeline too, right? So express the importance of participating early in the process. So it's all, you know, word of mouth, it's advertising, all those things. And if we get, you know, if we get 50% response rate, that would be tremendous, right? If we could do that. Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll provide our ideas, but we'll need your help too in terms of just getting the word out.
The folks out there, would you like to come up and make any comments at this time?
Come on, Harry.
I mean, we always have room for you, so come on in.
Yeah.
Good, all right.
Hi, I'm Paul Cluth. I'm a resident in Taneytown
Can you
on
talk into the mic?
East Baltimore Street, and I also have a business here on Main Street as well. I've been taking notes. All of this that you're talking about is very exciting. I get passionate about it, and I get passionate about Taneytown because I think I see so many potential opportunities, and so a fresh look, at a comprehensive plan is just great. Great timing, way to go. And I'm thinking of a fresh look, and this is sort of a question that I have, is how do you take a fresh look at a more or less a market feasibility for the town that applies to all the various stakeholders? So as an example, some of these major stakeholders would obviously be business and economic opportunities, naturally. But then you've got agriculture, you've got the farmers in town. You've got all the historical aspects of how you take advantages there. You've got all the infrastructure issues. And I know that one of the other challenges that wasn't mentioned, like besides ag preservation, are the water resources that everybody is aware of. And that's a big concern. How do you look at what can we do best for the faith organizations, the nonprofits? How do we go about wise development and slow growth? How do we deal with a lot of the vacant buildings that we have in town? So my goal or my hope would be that we could come up with a copycat model plan, based on model municipalities and master plans that have been done, take the best of the best, but maintain that hometown feel. I'd like to see some enhanced beautification plans for the downtown and major streets, and then of course the community amenities that we have in this town are really important, and they are nice. Our Parks and Planning has got their act together, and Taneytown Connect is a wonderful resource for the citizens to know what's going on in town. I think the only question I have, are there any height restrictions for buildings greater than 3 or 4 levels in town?
District, but yes.
Yeah, so in other words, somebody couldn't necessarily build a high-rise without going through a whole lot of stuff. And I'm thinking that's not really what we want to see anyway. Some of those stakeholders that you may want to survey, members of the senior center, very much so. There's always about 100 people there on a daily basis for different events. You've got the members of the museum. You've got the residents of Carol Vista, which is easy to get those surveyed through their community organization. And then I don't know whether you put out surveys at the post office, for example. So those are just some ideas. Just threw that out for what it's worth. And boy, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Expect to see you every month.
Probably will.
Thank you.
I took notes too, but mine are on my phone, so I wasn't just texting the whole time. Harry Mead, Baumgartner. Most of you have seen me before. I was just kind of writing down questions as we were going along. I know we've talked about the current plan. Is it available electronically, or is it only paper, or?
It's on the
online.
website.
Okay, okay. Then I'm gonna go check that out, but.
It looks something like this.
How how accurately has it been followed for the past 14 years?
Jim, would you like to answer that? It's not that we don't make an effort.
Yeah.
We do make an effort.
That's a good answer.
Because, I mean, because make it G-rated for, how much are we spitting into the wind here on this? I mean, I know we have to do it for regulatory, but
Jim would like
About
to
if
answer.
I'll comment at the end of your comments, if that's okay? Is that, okay.
so, because that's kind of got a couple other ones I'm skipping along my list here. How do you get private people to actually follow the plan as opposed, I mean, you can and also the kind of dovetailing with that is what's the actual granularity of the plan once we complete it? What are we aiming for within the plan? Are we aiming for, okay, these areas are going to be zoned this and that's all they're going to be until somebody comes along and decides they want to challenge that and gets a zoning change and then our plan is gone again? Or how does that kind of, I mean, I'm not necessarily expecting answers on all of this tonight. This is just
No, we
things
appreciate it.
Yep.
things that are coming up in my head
good.
about this. So kind of what's the granularity of the plan? How does that, and what is the plan of the plan? And a big thing, and you were touching on it there a little bit, but my broader thing is what assumptions are going to be used when formulating this plan? What are we assuming that we're going to be able to get for water? What are we assuming for traffic? What are we like? All of the electric. I mean, are we going to need another substation at some point? So it's just that's the kind of assumptions that I'd kind of be interested in to see what those assumptions are in coming up with the 10-year plan.
Thank you. Jim, if you'd like to answer.
Sure. So I guess I'll back up a little bit. Some of these things have been touched on already, but and most of you have heard me chant these things before, but just to go on the public record for those who might be interested in this process and are not here or may watch this later on YouTube. Some of the things I think this plan gives us the opportunity for is, we do have some constraints as to how we grow, how much we're going to be able to grow. As Commissioner Wires indicated, we are in an area of the county where we're a priority area for ag preservation. So there are more and more properties around the city going into ag preservation easements, and the city is, slowly being encircled. So it's possible that, in the next generation, there may be a loop all the way around the city. We don't know that for sure. The ag preservation program is totally voluntary. Nobody forces anybody to go into it, but, folks that want to preserve their farm and need an infusion of cash, it's very appealing. Or that just want to preserve their farm. So we have pressure from properties contiguous to the city within our growth area that are interested in entering the ag preservation program. So that's what we're looking at, outside of the city and the pressures on the city. But also with regard to water resources, our soil and rock type don't really allow much infiltration of rainwater into the ground. So we're limited as to how much water we can pump because the Department of the Environment requires that we own or control recharge areas that are going to be linked to our well permit allocations, our pumping allocations. So our recharge rates in the city are about the equivalent of one household's worth per acre per day. And yet we try to build at a smart growth density, even the R10,000 that a lot of people like, the 3.5 acres per lot maybe, or 3 acres a lot. or 3 lots an acre rather, is not sustainable without going outside of the city, getting recharge easements. And, to what extent can you do that within our existing aquifers? So we have some resource constraints, some water resource constraints, as well as the Upper Monocacy is an impaired waterway. And that's where our wastewater treatment plant ultimately goes. It discharges into Piney Creek, goes into Double Creek, into the Monocacy. So we have some constraints on growth. And I think that this plan is going to be very important for the city because of those constraints, that we can't just assume that we will continue to grow forever and ever. And we need to think about the type of growth that we have, and if that growth is going to be of a sustainable nature, as far as will it support city services in the future when we can't grow outward anymore. So I think those are conversations that we need to be having. It may not be, I think we need to really look long and hard at the type of growth and, what the city is going to look like, even beyond the life of this plan, but hopefully we can set the stage so that what growth we do have in the life of this plan is of a more sustainable nature, something that maybe the revenue it generates may better pay for city services and maintenance than some of the development that we've seen in the past. So we do have, those are some areas I think that are of concern with the plan. We've already talked about transportation and the impact of growth around us coming through the city that we kind of suffer through. That's a big one as well. But I guess kind of focusing over to some of Mr. Mead's comments, different elements of the plan are going to be subject to certain state regulations. There is a housing element that we're required to do that's a rather robust element because the state recognizes that there's a big housing shortage in the state. So that housing element is much more involved than it was when we did the 2010 plan. So we will need to, meet the state's expectations on that element, as well as things with the Department of the Environment for water resources and things of that nature. So there are numerous agencies that will be involved in reviewing and suggesting revisions when we get to that point. But we're going to be working with a lot of agencies will be involved, from the State Highway Administration to the Department of the Environment to Department of Housing and Community Development. So there are standards that we need to satisfy for all of those. And, if we say we're going to grow like this and it's unrealistic from like a water resources standpoint, the state's going to come back and tell us, well, how exactly are you going to do that now? Show us how you're going to support, all this growth based on what we know about your water. So there's a lot of science involved in it as well. So a lot to cover in one meeting, but
Yeah, I mean, and that's
it's a
that's
big it's a
kind
big
of where
process.
I was going is
Yeah.
that I'm more of a nuts and bolts kind of guy of, okay, so what is the actual, like, how's this going to work? And that's where I was going with assumptions. It's like, okay, well, we've got the assumptions that we have to have are we have X amount of water and we have state highways says we can only do this, and these guys say we can only do that. So it's just, I'm just interested in what all of that's going to be to get rolled into this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Harry.
Yeah, and just to answer the question about how granular the document is as well. So, I showed that slide on that planning continuum earlier in the presentation. And so, the comp plan is that high level plan, and it will identify maybe some needs for maybe a market study or more detailed studies, but those won't be that level of detail won't be in the plan, but the need for it will be identified, and then that will help the decision makers determine, okay, what kind of grant money are we going to go after to do this next study, or what's our next priority in terms of studies that we need to undertake. So it's more from that level, and it's not going to provide all the answers in one document. It's going to provide the path to get to those answers and the priorities to do that.
I think that's something that may have been missing from the previous plans, and, you know, it's not often thought about, because everybody looks at all of the prescriptive things that go into a comprehensive plan. You know, we're looking to grow here, we're looking, this is a spot where we think that, you know, this zoning density should be applied or whatever. But what we tend not to do is put in action plans, and how are we going to move forward with this? How are we going to incentivize the kind of density growth in more towards the town center that would help resolve some of maybe the housing issues, and the fair housing issues, so that we don't have to translate that kind of density out to the outer portions of town where it may not fit quite so well. You know, I look at Mead's Crossing, and I think, you know, pretty houses, you know, and it's nice, but it seems like that should have been closer, like the townhouse section should have been closer to town, and there should have been some sort of small commercial development to it. If you're going to have, you know, kind of a community village zoning in a community center, that there ought to be something there that makes it a center of the community, and not just a pool and a basketball court. So, you know, that's one of the things I'm kind of looking towards in this plan, is to not only have an idea what we want the overall plan to look like in terms of densities and zonings and stuff like that, but how do we get there? How do we incentivize that? How do we make that actually happen?
And as Craig mentioned, the comp plan is kind of a high-level thing, and circling back to another question as far as, like, you know, have we implemented things from the previous plan? There are a lot of things in the previous plan that have not been implemented, but if you look back at it, we have actually achieved quite a number of things that were mentioned in the plan. And, you know, whether it's from a, you know, development aspect, or, you know, we've seen connection of some streets that were called for in the plan, and implementation of some recommendations, like a park impact fee, for example. You know, so a lot of the recommendations have been accomplished, but a lot remain. And some of those we might want to continue. They might still be something we think we should do at some point, even though we didn't get to it over the life of the last plan. But yeah, a lot did get accomplished, but a lot is still waiting.
Yeah.
So.
In regard
Which
to
is
the
pretty
housing
good.
that you were talking about, are you saying that state's telling us that we have to have low income, or what were you talking there?
No, there is, the state is very big on providing additional housing throughout the state, because the population is expected to grow significantly in coming years. So I'm not that familiar with the details of the housing plan, but generally, we're supposed to, I think it'll be a safe summary to say that, you know, there should be, the state's looking for us to have places for people of all income levels to be able to live. So we will have to delve into that more as we get into the housing element.
Right.
What is
You know,
it, so
but-
many per development you have to have for the low income, or what?
So there are some jurisdictions within the state that do have, they call them moderate price dwelling units, or MPDUs, where you've got to, and in some cases, it's been more successful than others. Some counties require a certain number of moderately priced dwelling units to be scattered throughout a subdivision. But some also associate fees with it in lieu of, and that's, you know, sometimes a way to get around that requirement. But I think at this point, it's more of an incentivizing program to be able to do that. And it's an interesting topic, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm not
because
saying we'll
it's-
get in trouble.
Right, but it's, I think it's interesting to watch what the market does and what development does and how people behave in certain areas. And, you know, there's, you know, I think Taneytown has seen that in clustering, you know, lots of, I'll say, more affordable homes in one spot, you tend to have a certain characteristic emerge over time in those neighborhoods. Whereas some areas that have grown more organically, and I love to use the example of East Baltimore Street, east of Gervanian Road. There are, small houses, there are big houses, there are duplex or semi-detached houses, and it works. And it's a nice stretch of town. And generally, the properties are pretty well maintained, and it's a variety of incomes, variety of, people who live there, and it works. And it kind of happened organically. It happened over time. A developer came in I think 1909 or 1919, laid out all those lots, and over a period of years, the houses appeared. And you can kind of watch the evolution of architectural styles as you go out Baltimore Street for what was popular. But it's a variety, and it's all mixed together, and it works. So it's just interesting to me to observe those sort of characteristics around town.
I'd rather see the term affordable housing compared to low income.
It's all the same
Sure.
thing.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
You had another comment, sir? Yeah.
A couple of comments to what I've heard. Jim, I think you make some real good comments from a sanity check as to what is really possible. You can have all these pipe dreams, or you go and you have a plan, but then, regulations and all the other things that go on can put a roadblock in your way. And, I think about, obviously ag preservation. I don't see that as necessarily a bad thing, because it lets us stay with slow growth rather than fast growth. I think Frederick is a good example of what we would never want to become, because development is just totally out of control, and they're not, they don't have the
Vision.
traffic. Yeah, they haven't dealt with all their traffic issues. They have just compounded. So, I think that's a good example not to follow. But with water resources, if there's no water, how can you bring in more residents or more large businesses that take the water? So, the state's going to say, well, you got to do this. Well, how do you do that? Do you have to build a reservoir? Are there deep wells that we don't know about, springs, in the area that you can tap? Nobody probably knows that. So, it's a real quandary, and it's a neat science. But what I wanted to kind of emphasize is, if we really can't expand, why not build on what we have? Let's improve what we have and make it better, improve property values, attract more owner-occupied, like you said.
Yes.
And we do need more destination businesses. We need to have things that attract people to come to Taneytown. And, obviously, looking at some of our fellow cities that seem to be doing pretty well that way. Sykesville is kind of a good example. The Leonardtown, which just became a new Main Street, is a good example, which I think some of the officials got to see a picture on that. So I think more destination-built businesses, striving for that, investors, outside investors, but to build what we've already got and make it better, rather than necessarily think, oh, well, we got to maybe do more development than is possible. I don't know if that made any sense or not, but throw it out there for what it's worth.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Greg, back to you.
Yeah, great. That was really great. Honestly, that's a lot of good input, and a lot of good ideas. This will all be very helpful, and appreciate everybody's thoughts on these things. Our next steps to this point, we handed out those surveys. Next time we meet, I'd like to get input. I think we're going to make some changes to that. I think Emily and I got some good ideas. There's some things that we want to modify in the surveys. If if the group has any specific things, any questions that we want to change, we can take care of that. But so next month, I'd like to finalize those surveys so we can get that information out as quickly as possible. And then we'll start with our, collecting that background information, looking at the demographics, the population, some of the basic traffic, the baseline traffic information, things of that nature, get that to you. And then we'll want to revisit the existing goals and objectives in the plan and look and see what's still relevant and what we need to modify. So those are the kind of things that we want to talk about at the next meeting.
And that would be, we don't looking like August the 20th as the next meeting?
Tuesday before.
Tuesday before last Monday.
Hey, Jim.
August
or-
the 20th.
Dan, you,
Craig, I got just a real quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I noticed there's a community service, or I'm sorry, a community survey and a key person survey.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference, and are we going to do that?
Yeah, so the community survey is the survey that's distributed to as many people as we possibly can get out there, right? Everybody participates in that. And then the key person surveys or interviews are, I'll work with Daryl and Jim, and if the commission has any suggestions, but identifying key stakeholders in the community. Maybe it's somebody at the senior center, like the one gentleman mentioned. It'll likely be the various department heads within the city. Is there maybe somebody at the fire company, maybe somebody with there's a community soccer or softball group or whatever that is kind of pivotal to the community. So it's just identifying persons whose opinions we would be interested in getting that would help shape what we're doing.
So will the data be tabulated separate, or is it?
Yes.
all-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
right,
So do we have a particular task that the commissioner here we should be looking at between now and the next meeting? Or you're going to be sending stuff to Jim or Daryl to feed back to us? What's our next step?
Yeah. We'd
action?
like you to look at those survey questions and
Complete
be
them.
prepared to discuss those at the next meeting.
Okay.
Craig, if we have any comments now, do you want to hear them at this
Yeah,
point?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know and this is coming from a guy who reads the direction when he opens the box before
Yeah,
putting
sure.
something together. So just you
screwdriver in hand.
so you know where this is coming from.
That's great. Okay.
But looking through there were some questions that said, choose up to 3, and others really didn't give any guidance. I guess I'm wondering, are some of them, do you check all that apply, or are you just checking one? Or I just thought that could be a little clearer. But again,
Okay.
I'm a follow the directions kind of guy.
Okay.
On the community survey, the first question asks about if you're a resident or property owner, business owner. If we may be putting these online, and Dan, our IT specialist, has already worked up a fillable PDF that would be a way that we could do this through our website. And we'll talk logistics later, I guess. But if this might be available through social media or the website, do we want to specify maybe, business owner within the city, or how, some way to see, if we're getting input from people in the larger Taneytown community, or, people within the city itself, just to know, the perspective that people are coming from when they are answering the survey.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yeah. And would Dan be able to, because what we would try and avoid is somebody submitting multiple surveys, right? To kind of,
Right.
That's what I was.
so can he restrict it by IP address?
Right, so we would, and that's another question, right, is, do we want to ensure that, at least as far as the electronic ones, we can't really control if people, pick up a paper copy at the post office, at the grocery store, or at the library.
Right.
And, fill out 3 hard copies. But we can, make sure that we identify if we have multiple surveys coming from the same IP address, I guess. But again, we can certainly publicize it through our social media, but I don't know if we want to make it available as a fillable PDF or not, but
Yeah,
just a
I
couple
think we
thoughts there.
do. If it weren't through that process, we would use another service like a SurveyMonkey or something
Right.
of that nature to do
Okay.
it. So,
Well, we'll have that, I guess, conversation offline maybe
Yeah.
then. Okay. As far as the key person survey, about how big of a group are you looking for that key person one?
I think we were talking, 15 to 20 people.
Thanks.
It's the same question.
Pretty much, yeah. That's why I only answered the first page.
I might not have heard it, but on the main survey, if we did it online, did I miss something? How do we control who will get that? They could have, anybody can go on our website or whatever. Am I missing something there? Because you could have somebody
That's-
from out of state.
That is a concern with doing it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that possibility exists. I mean, I don't recall ever having that be an issue, but it certainly could happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just thinking out of the box a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking because of
And
what
we
the internet
have
can do
seen-
for us.
But
I've
ideally,
seen with some items that people from far beyond Taneytown have a very strong opinion on things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we have seen outside of the community, like far outside of the community, come in here and have something to say about one of our local issues. So
Okay.
it certainly is a risk.
I mean, but that's going to be part of our meeting to figure out the best way to get to the citizens of Taneytown. Okay, all right.
See, I think people ought to have an interest like these gentlemen here do. If they don't, let them come in here and get a survey. I think y'all show a little interest.
People normally don't get involved unless it affects them directly.
Well, it all does.
But I would like to see every resident get one somehow.
I mean, we're talking about a lot of different things here. I mean, we have a beautiful board out at the end, at the entrance, coming into Taneytown. I don't know if we can put something on that.
Sure.
Just pique their interest a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah,
we need to keep them motivated somehow.
because I've voiced my opinion many times of come to the planning commission, come to the meetings.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you guys show up.
Yes.
But I'm feeling chopped liver here. No, come on, Harry. But what I'm saying, as long as we can keep that in the right direction, not to come here to complain, we need to make sure we have that vision for, if you're going to come, we're going to be listening,
Right.
but
So I'm sure the Councilman Tillman can attest to this. The first meeting, once you're elected, you sit in the big seats and you're discussing the budget or voting on it. And what do you see? Something very similar to what you see tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I have literally, except for good old Marvin Flickinger, seen not one person in some of those meetings. So, we were talking about Craig, and God bless you for saying it. If we get 15% of the city to weigh in on this with pushing, I'll be impressed.
Yeah.
And it's like the voting thing.
but let's,
Right, you gotta remember, right,
well,
the city of 8,000 people, 600 people showed up to vote. That's,
let's prove that wrong.
yeah.
But that's true.
I mean,
Well, it's
I like
changed,
that,
right,
Bill.
Because it's very important.
Yeah.
We've never had this opportunity to have people that are very experienced in this to guide us in the next 10 years and on. We don't, not every town, and we discussed that, after going to those meetings.
And we're also at a fairly unique junction. I mean, because, we just had 300 and some new houses built. There are other things in the pipeline, and we want to be, get on top of what these folks are looking for. Why did they come here, and what can we give them that makes this place better, not just for them, but for everybody?
Okay.
And to finish, so Craig and Emily, I asked that Once we get once we get the questions tailored down to what we want, that the city of Taneytown's logo goes up top somewhere as well.
Sure.
So that when somebody sees it, city at the library or what have you, and we can make them available at the front office. I don't know the number, but I'd say it's probably a couple hundred people a month come in here to pay their water bill. You know what I mean?
Perfect
I
time
think
to-
that's, is that,
Yeah, perfect
Yeah.
time to have,
so we're having
that
there and, you know, I'm encouraging them to
Get
do
some of our
that.
happiest citizens coming in with their check for their water bill.
Okay, we'll make that work. I'm excited. Good.
All right.
Comments on this, do you want those to go, what's the information flow? Do we want this to go through the staff, through Daryl?
It's-
Okay, so
Yeah.
any comments that we would have, we would put in through Daryl,
Yeah.
and he
Yep.
would then be the go-between.
Yeah, don't call me. Email me. Come on. Barry, you can call me. No, but yeah, get it to me and I'll get it to, Emily. Would you be the one getting this? So you did the real hard stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
She's sitting there quietly waiting for the load to get dumped on her. I see that happening.
All right, moving, Chris, Greg, you have anything else here? I want to give Jay a chance to tune in too. Jay, you hadn't made any comments yet.
been quiet.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
right.
I mean,
Take
this
it
is an
rolling.
exciting thing, and you know, we've gone through it a couple times with the city here, and I've done it with my other clients, and I think that everybody always wants to rush to the end product because you know that they really have a thirst for trying to figure out what's next for the city, but this is one of those where the process is almost more important than the end product to get everything, you know, kind of coalesced in the right order. And, you know, I'm looking forward to that. I heard a lot of the conversations and, you know, it's kind of, you got to trust the process because all the details are going to get worked out. That's why it takes so long. This is, you know, a multi-month deal here. So I look forward to working with you all on it. And I'm always here. There are always a few chapters that they bring the lawyer in. And so, you know, as for our working group, I probably will pop in and out of these as they become relevant to, you know, legal stuff.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay, Craig or Emily, any other comments?
That's all we had. I just want to thank you again for all the you know, all the input. It was great. You guys just were a wealth of information tonight, so that's very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, how about anybody up here? Anyone
Good.
here? Okay. All right, then with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
What was the date on next meeting?
Next meeting,
20th, that's 20th is the Tuesday before. our
August the
next-
20th at 6:30.
I want to make a motion.
Bill made the motion for adjournment. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, and thank you, folks.
Great. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.